What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another Comically Boston breakdown episode. And today we are continuing on Peacemaker Season 2 breakdowns with Peacemaker Episode 2 titled A Man is Only as Good as His Bird. So this is definitely going to be a big eagly episode, so you keep your eyes peeled for a soaring eagle. But previously on Peacemaker, Chris got turned down from the Justice Gang, and we also saw how James Gunn retconned the DCU with previously in the DCU and having the Justice Gang replace the Justice League. And then Peacemaker went to an audition for the Justice Gang with Maxwell Lord and Hawkgirl and Guy Gardner, and that didn't go very well, so he had an orgy and relieved some stress and sadness from his life. And then Harcourt, we saw, went looking for a beating and found it, but this is kind of what she wanted. And then Peacemaker went to another universe and killed the good version of himself, and that was where we left off last episode with a huge cliffhanger. And then we open this episode 8 months ago, so I believe we started this season 3 months ago, so I believe this is 8 months ago, sometime after Creature Commandos, but you know, after Peacemaker Season 1 and after the Suicide Squad, after Creature Commandos but before Superman, somewhere in this time, but it has to be after Peacemaker Season 1 and after Creature Commandos because ECONOMOS is no longer on crutches. And then we see on the news that Rick Flag Sr. has been appointed head of Argus 8 months ago, and this is his first day at his new office, and ECONOMOS is giving him a tour and trying to suck up to Rick Flag a little bit, but it's not working. And then he refers to Amanda Waller as A-Dubs, A-W, and he's like, yeah, don't do that for me. Don't give me a nickname. But Rick Flag's first task as the new head of Argus is to unclassify the documents from Corto Maltese that were classified that he wasn't allowed to see. So he hasn't known what happened to his son because the documents have been classified. So his first thing he does when he's in charge is unclassify those documents for himself so that he now knows that Peacemaker killed his son. And we see Flag, you know, as he's about to go through the classified files of Corto Maltese, and there's like flashbacks of Rick Flag Jr. at Corto Maltese and his son's death, and you know, the flashbacks of the Suicide Squad movie where Peacemaker kills him and he's like, Peacemaker, what a joke, you know, and it's like, oh, it's heartbreaking. But you can see the look on Frank Grillo's face playing Rick Flag Sr. where there's just so much sadness and emotion learning that his son was killed by freaking Peacemaker. And then he like slams his desk and then goes and storms out into the office. But I have a clip of this flashback that he sees.
Tired of covering up their dirty little secrets. This time these sons of bitches are gonna be held account.
That information gets out, it causes an international incident. Keeping the peace is worth any price, including the life of a hero like yours, sir.
Peacemaker. What a joke.
Wow, so we actually see in that little clip that there's, the file literally says Peacemaker stabs a shard into Rick Flag Jr.'s heart, and then Flag's last words, Peacemaker, what a joke, you know, and like they show it all. And we see him like slam his desk, and then he storms out of his office and he goes over to Sasha Bordeaux and tells her to put surveillance on Peacemaker 24/7. And she's like, sir, he has a grace with the company because of his work on Project Butterfly. And he says, fuck the Peacemaker. So 8 months Argus has been surveilling Peacemaker, and Peacemaker hasn't noticed. And then the intro plays. So that wonderful Oh Lord by Foxy Shazam and that title card. I'm still wondering if that, you know, EAGLY standing on the pile of bodies all laying on the ground is symbolic of something. And maybe this universe is not long for our TV screens, if you know what I mean. Or it could just be they're all tired, but it is what it is. We come back from the intro to the title card of Chapter 2, A Man is Only as Good as His Bird, written by James Gunn and directed by Greg Mottola. And Greg Mottola, I think, directed 2 and 3, James said, and apparently episodes 2 and 3 were filmed first because Superman had not finished filming yet, and then when I think they were still on the set of Superman because they had, you know, the Justice Gang still there and Maxwell Lord and all of them still in costume, that's why they were able to shoot that bit in episode 1 of Peacemaker. So that's why James said he directed episode 1, and I think he only directed episodes 1, 6, and 8 this season. And other than that, so the remaining 5 episodes had other directors? Interesting. But I think the entire series was written by James, at least. We come back from the intro to see Peacemaker with blood on his face, still holding his own dead body, and he's trying to like stash the body underneath this like desk, and the body keeps rolling back out, and he keeps just like, ah, you know, screaming. He's all pissed off. He's like, fucking hey, this is bullshit. And then he finally just gives up on stashing the body and runs back into his house and grabs his phone. And we see that it is a Lord Tech phone with the Justice Gang symbol on the back of it. And either this is like a full Lord Tech branded Justice Gang phone, or this is like the phone case he has on it, like he was already embracing joining the Justice Gang even though he didn't get in. And we see him make a phone call, and it's probably to Vigilante, and he says, do you still have those bone saws? And then, like, that's just the conversation ends, so we'll catch up with that in a moment. But he goes and showers off his blood, and he's, like, you know, trying to scrub off the blood, which is, like, some of his blood from his back, some of the other Peacemaker's blood, and he's, like, crying while he does it, you know, just think about what a piece of shit he is. We then see ADEBYO goes over to Kia's place and is greeted by her dogs at the door, and that she misses and clearly seems sad about it because, you know, the dogs Kia got in the breakup type of thing, and clearly they haven't been staying with ADEBYO in the quote-unquote ECONOMOS quote-unquote worst level of GTA, which her apartment is pretty shitty. And ADEBYO is just sneaking in to grab a couple of her things or steal some shit from this apartment type of thing. And Kia's there. She didn't think she was going to be. And she's like, you gotta tell someone when you're coming over after you guys have broken up with them. And ADEBYO's like, broken up? I thought we were on a break. And she's like, what's the difference? She goes, there's a big difference. And there is a huge difference between broken up and on a break. You know, like, me personally, I'd never been on a break. It's always just been broken up, or just like, you know, if you think we can go on a break and then reconvene, like, what are you doing in your break time? You know, like, you just want to go sleep with somebody else and then come back and be like, but I wanted to be in this relationship. Like, no, you didn't. You wanted to go fuck other people. Go fuck other people. It's all right. There's no reason to stay in a relationship if you not want to be in a relationship. Don't do this on a break bullshit. You're either done or you're not, you know, like, figure it the fuck out. But so, ADEBYO here, poor ADEBYO, it seems like her and Kia are in a real rough patch, and it doesn't seem like they're going to be working it out, even though they were, like, married and shit. And in ADEBYO's head, she still wants to work it out, but it doesn't seem like Kia wants to. But we also learn that Kia is working at Jitter's Coffee from her new uniform, which I believe is, like, in Metropolis, or maybe, like, wherever Flash is from. And Kia and ADEBYO's conversation doesn't really go well. So she just says she's gonna leave, and she says, I love you, but Kia doesn't say it back, and I was just like, ooh, poor ADEBYO. But I speculated in episode 1 that Kia, the actress that plays her, maybe had scheduling conflicts and they kind of just wrote her out of the season. But no, this breakup of the two of them seems to be something that was caused by ADEBYO airing out the dirty laundry on the news and then deciding that she wants to really, you know, decide to go for this, like, secret agency thing, but she doesn't want to get a job with another agency. She's just like, I'm gonna do it by myself. And they're like, she's being super optimistic, but, like, she doesn't really have a solid, great plan. But she's chasing her dream, so good for ADEBYO, but it doesn't seem Kia is supporting her dream anymore and is really pissed that she uprooted their lives like this. And once again, another Gotham nod, because Kia said to her, we were supposed to be going back to Gotham. So, baby Batman getting debuted in episode 6 or 8 this season? Probably unlikely. They're probably going to wait to debut their DCU Batman in its own project type of thing. But, you know, just another little detail, maybe a Sacha Bordeaux, maybe Leota, maybe Kia. maybe we're heading to Gotham in this series. But after ADEBYO leaves with a bit of a heartbreak, you know, we cut over to HARCOURT, and she's in a pharmacy looking in a mirror at her black eye and bruised and cut up face. When a woman comes over to her, it starts like, you know, I saw you from across the room. I don't mean to be in your business, but clearly a woman that was domestically abused by her husband or somebody in the past. And she thinks that this is a domestic violence thing and that HARCOURT was beat up by her husband. And HARCOURT's like, yeah, that's not what this is, so we're good. You can leave me alone. The lady keeps going, and HARCOURT kind of blows up at her, saying, am I a fucking mirror? Like, can I have my own problems, please? Like, fuck off. I have my own issues, and you're not fucking me. You don't know me. Get the hell out of here. Like... And she, like, as she blows up at this lady, the whole store hears her. She turns around and sees this poor, tall ginger kid in the store and goes, you got a nice view there, Beaker? And calls him Beaker. And he's like, Beaker? And another black woman in the store goes, that's a Muppet. And he goes, okay, and do I look like him? And she's like, a little, and that's bad? It's not good. Like, it was just a quick little back and forth with just some random extras in the store, but it was so funny. It had me dying laughing. Beaker. And then, like, I was looking at him and I was like, I don't know, he's a tall, ginger-looking kid. Who's Beaker? What does this Muppet look like? And then I saw what the Muppet looked like and I go, oh yeah, that's Beaker. And then on the way out of the store, HARCOURT sees a help wanted sign on the door and she kind of sighs like, oh God, is this my last resort? I can't get a job anywhere, so I'm just gonna get a job as a cashier at this shitty fucking pharmacy. I was like, ooh, poor HARCOURT, she really needs a job. We then see a hilarious actor by the name of Tim Meadows shows up to be the backup that SHASHA sent to help ECONOMOS watch Peacemaker. And John didn't know that he was coming, so he has like a gun pointed on him when he first sees him. And he's like, slowly go for your badge. And he's like, well, I don't need to because that gun's still in the holster, but I will because I'm a nice guy. You know, and it was just funny like the way that he was playing this character. But he comes in and immediately gives ECONOMOS another shitty nickname like Diebeard from season 1, but now this time his nickname is Ginger Cool, and he gives him this nickname because John's preferred method of greeting isn't handshake or fist pump or hug, but just head nod. And Tim Meadows' character named Fleury is like, oh yeah, that's cool, Ginger Cool. And he's just like, don't call me that. He's like, you mind if I call you Ginger Cool? He goes, yeah, I fucking mind. And he just kind of laughs at him, and you're just like, oh boy. So ECONOMOS has a new partner in his van, and it's no longer a lone mission. He's got some backup sent to him from Argus, because SHASHA and Rick Flag Sr. doesn't trust ECONOMOS doing this himself. We then see Peacemaker all cleaned up after his shower, and he's getting a cup of coffee because he had a real rough evening, and he's going to grab the newspaper from the front door, and then he walks back into his house, and we see that the orgy from last night is still there, and all the people are laid out through the house naked, but he's just kind of like, oh shit, you guys are all still here. And one of the guys is like, can I have a little bit of that? And at first you could read it as like John Cena's ass, and then he's holding a cup of coffee, and so the guy just wants some coffee. He goes, sure, I'll get you a cup. But then ADEBYO knocks at the door as he's getting this guy a cup of coffee, and ECONOMOS is in the truck and has to hear Fleury sexualize ADEBYO. He's like, who's that piece of chocolatey ass? You know, like, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, is that your friend? I just wanted to be all up in her cheeks. You know, like, oh God. And then, you know, ADEBYO and Peacemaker are talking on his front step, and EAGLY kind of tiptoes his way out, and we hear Fleury say that he has bird blindness. He's like, what's with the parrot? And ECONOMOS is like, what? That's the fucking nation's bird. That's the eagle. You don't know what an eagle looks like? And he's like, nah man, I have bird blindness. And he can't tell the birds apart. He goes, sizes, and they start bringing up different birds. He's like, what about a hummingbird? It's like a small bird, wings flap fast, it has a long nose. He's like, yeah, see, you know birds. He goes, I only knew that because I read it, man. I could see an eagle, a bird, a parrot, and they all look the fucking same. Which is dumb, but also just a funny joke that now comes back every time this poor character has to see a bird. And I love the way that Tim Meadows is playing this character. It's like the perfect mix of asshole from like the higher up superiors and a mix of this like new idiot buddy coworker. And it's like, oh man, this guy is like an asshole, but he's really funny. We then see ADEBYO is showing Chris the picture that ECONOMOS took of him going into the QUC, and Chris has a little bit of a breakdown while talking to her, and he's like, fine, ADEBYO, you win the conversation. Are you happy now? 40,000 people are gonna stand up dancing for you because you won the conversation. And she's like, are you having a breakdown? He's like, maybe. I had a rough night. And she's like, well, I was sorry to make it worse, but she tells him that he is being monitored by Argus and monitored by Rick Flag Sr. And he's like, does he know that I killed his son? He's like, yeah. And she tells him not to use the QUC because somehow they know when he does, and they could send him back to prison for having some technology like that. And he's like, it's mine. It's in my house. My dad created it. It's been there my whole life. I don't think it's any big deal. And she's like, the fuck it's not, you know, like... But she is right, like, having this technology, it could get him back in prison because Lex Luthor just got sent to prison for having this technology and using this technology in Superman, right? And we saw how dangerous this technology could be. Although it does seem like Agee's technology in this QUC closet seems to work a lot better than the way that Lex was doing it. And it seems like, you know, maybe it's more advanced technology. And then we see Vigilante walks up, and ECONOMOS and Fleury watching him. Fleury goes, oh yeah, who's this motherfucker? He looks like he caught all the Pokemon. And ECONOMOS was like, it's Pokemon? And he's like, listen, Pokemon, when you were learning about that, I was too busy getting my dick sucked by 2 women. And ECONOMOS just kind of like, alright then. We then see Vigilante and Peacemaker walk into his house, and Vigilante sees the orgy, and he's like, whoa, what the fuck is going on here? And he's like, I had some people over. And it seems like Vigilante is quite jealous, and Peacemaker says to him, you don't even seem that into sex. And Vigilante says, dude, I'm not into sex because it's sex. I'm into sex because, like a lot of people, it's an opportunity to bond with my best friend. That's not like a lot of people. No, it's not. No, I don't think it is. But Vigilante, it's definitely like that to him, because we did see him and Peacemaker have a 3-way with that dumb broad last season. So, I mean, he's definitely not opposed to being a little bi and having an orgy, just like Peacemaker. So I'm surprised Peacemaker didn't invite him. But he was like, this wasn't about friendship. This was just about, you know, relieving stress and getting shit off my mind. Doing drugs. But as they're like talking, Chris then asks this naked woman with a huge bush that just came out of the bathroom without washing her hands. And Vigilante's like, I'm not a fan of gonorrhea hands, but alright. And Chris asks her to get everybody out of there for him. So this is how the inevitable orgy exits the building. And then Peacemaker says to Vigilante, I need your help. And Vigil's like, oh, so you could call me when you're in trouble, but you can't call me to fuck a whole lot of hot babes? Come on, man. And then Peacemaker and him go into the closet in the QUC, and Peacemaker says, ah, fuck it, even though he knows that he's being monitored. And Fleury and ECONOMOS sees the energy reading come up on their devices. And then SHASHA calls Fleury immediately, saying like, hey, you see this blip? And he's like, yeah, okay. And then she says to keep ECONOMOS in the dark, because as ECONOMOS goes to this welcome back party for the 11th Street kids, welcoming ECONOMOS back to the area or wherever he's been. Maybe he was stuck at Belle Reve for some months and now he's back in the area. So they're having like an 11th Street kids get together party type thing. And she says that they're going to send in a team after dark once Peacemaker is out of there. So Fleury and Argus are planning to keep ECONOMOS in the dark while they infiltrate Peacemaker's house. We then see Peacemaker tell Vigilante about killing his other self from another universe, and Peacemaker says, it's just wrong when you look your own self in your eyes. Just a creepy feeling. And then Vigilante sees the dead body and goes, oh, cool helmet. And we get a montage of Vigilante pulling out a bunch of tools to cut up the body, and they do just that, and we see them cutting up the other Peacemaker into a bunch of pieces and, like, you know, severing the arms and then severing the legs. And poor John Cena's filming this. He's got like this prosthetic made up of himself, and he's like sawing himself in half. Like, this must have been a real creepy sequence to shoot. But Vigilante, as they're doing all this, seems to be having the time of his life. He's full smile, sawing him in half. He's like, ah! He's like dancing around with the mop, mopping up the blood. Like, he's having way too much fun. But as we see them discarding the other Peacemaker's body parts into the incinerator that we saw the alien creature use last episode, as they're doing this, the alien goes to come back through to throw out another little rat thing or whatever into the incinerator, and he comes to open the door, and Peacemaker turns around and goes, "Fuck off!" Vigilante's like, "Who is that?" He goes, "Just some dick that I always say hi to, and he never says hi back." You know, like, but that poor alien dude, we have no idea who he is or what he is, but apparently he's just some dude that might just keep popping up various times throughout the season whenever they're in the QUC here. But I'm also curious, like, what dimension is he from? But as we see Peacemaker and Vigilante loading up the other Peacemaker's body parts into the incinerator, and they're loading up the ass of the other Peacemaker, as he like throws it in, the cell phone from this other Peacemaker falls out of his pocket, and our Peacemaker picks it up and keeps it. And he goes back to his room and starts going through the pictures of him and Mila, not Emilia Harcourt. In the other universe, she goes by Mila, or at least the other Peacemaker who had dated her, because she was an ex as far as we know, because that's what Keith said to him. The Harcourt from his universe he calls Mila. It looks like in this other universe when they were together they seemed really happy, and that's all our Chris really wants, and he looks at the QUC door like he wants to go back to that other universe. We then see Leapfrog from She-Hulk. I'm sorry for the poor actor's name. I don't know his actual name, but I do recognize him as the character Leapfrog from She-Hulk Season 1. And he is a part of this Argus team that is gearing up to breach into Peacemaker's house with Fleury and Argus. And this team doesn't really seem like an A team, just by the way that they're all preparing. You're like, I don't know if this is the A squad, if you know what I mean. But we then see that Harcourt has stitched herself up and is putting makeup on her bruised face. And she is hosting the 11th Street Kids because Adrian, Vigilante, lives with his mother. And that could be like a Norman Bates type thing. ADEBYO lives in a shack. And she said every time she goes to Chris's house, EAGLY attacks her. So she's hosting the 11th Street Kids, and they're all going to be drinking up on her roof. And once they all arrive, they all toast to never being split apart again. And we cut over then to Fleury moving into Peacemaker's house. And Fleury gives this team all bad nicknames, just like Ginger Cool. He gives the rest of this team terrible nicknames, and the poor Mexican guy gets called Mexicali. Our boy Leapfrog gets a nickname of Pony Boy. The bald woman got Titties. And then the last guy gets Encino Man, which is all just terrible names. But Pony Boy objects to the name and gets demoted to Barely Legal because he looks so young. And then he didn't like that either, so he gets demoted again to Cupid Doll. Keep it up. You want to keep going? See what kind of nicknames I got for you. Let's keep it rolling. So poor Cupid Doll, and I was like, what is a Cupid Doll? I call my mother. She goes, Cupid Dolls are from my generation. Real old dolls. So then Cupid Doll picks the lock and they are into Peacemaker's house and they are tracing dimensional energy to this closet door, and they have like a device, Mexicali does. He has a device that can track like where the dimensional energy is coming from, and they find that it's coming from this closet door when EAGLY attacks, which is definitely where the title of this episode comes in, because this is a guard dog moment for EAGLY, and he's a very, very good boy. Very good guard dog. Yes, he is. But this guard dog can fly. And we see the EAGLY rips apart Encino Man's eye and then goes after Titty's neck and then comes for Fleury. But I have a clip of this whole thing.
Encino Man, get in here! I can't tell how big this thing is. Fucking bird blindness. in there, Titties. You're gonna be okay.
Pay me all your dirty money.
Oh my god, dude, Eagly is such a savage. Like, fucking, like Vigilante said in season 1, fuck, Eagly's hardcore. Fuck yeah, Eagly's hardcore, and he's continuing that into season 2. And I love the end of that clip starts playing the song, and it's like this good, like, you know, needle drop for fucking Eagly as Dirty Money by Ida Maria plays. Play me, pay me my dirty money, right as he's just like eagle walking into the house. And I was like, bro, what a sequence to end on. But like, he literally, you know, attacks Mexicali, breaks his little device, so maybe they won't, you know, remember that the QUC's behind this closet door. But I'm assuming they'll regroup and come back and you know, destroy Peacemaker's house. Or maybe even kill Eagly because they'll be pissed. They'll want some revenge. But, you know, Eagly rips Encino Man's eyes out. We see the blood splatter in front of the moon. Eagly goes for Titty's neck. Maybe, like, got a vein in the neck. So maybe Eagly kills a couple of these members of this team. But it doesn't necessarily seem like that. But Eagly just walks his ass back inside, and it's such a funny clip. But we then see the 11th Street kids dancing and getting hammered, and then Chris reels in Harcourt, which is just a friggin' hilarious scene. He starts to reel her in, and she doesn't come in, so he puts his foot up on the railing like he needs more leverage and reels her in stronger, and she kind of finally pulls in, and he goes, I reeled you in there with my fishing rod. I don't know if you thought that was disrespectful or something by the way you didn't react nicely to it. And she's like, I don't know, it's pretty rude. You could have, your fishing hook could have ripped a hole in my shirt. And they kind of chuckle to each other with this dumb dad joke type bullshit. And she like almost cracks a smile. And I'm like, oh, like they're almost having good moments. But then somehow it all ends up getting fucked up. You know what I mean? We then see ECONOMOS and ADEBYO are shit-faced gossiping, and they're like, Chris and Harcourt, what? You see that shit? And ECONOMOS is really fucked up, and so is Harcourt. And they really, all of them are. But they're like super fucked up having this conversation. And ECONOMOS says, he really doesn't like his new job. And he's shit-faced while he does it. It's so funny. And she tells him, why don't you quit like her? You know, go out on your own, do your own thing, live the dream. And he's like, are you making a lot of money doing that? She's like, no, but I will. Like, so she's got a, you know, a positive mindset, but that can only get you so far. And she's like, what, are you gonna be scared your whole life? And he's like, I have had crippling anxiety since I was a child. So yeah, I'm pretty much just gonna stay the same, I think. And she's like, aw, and she gets up and hugs him. Oh, poor ECONOMOS. He's got crippling anxiety. We then cut back to Cupid Doll waking up Fleury, and Fleury's like, I got attacked by a duck. God, that's one of the funniest parts. He's like, everybody's getting attacked by the eagle. He's got a gun pointed at Eagly, and he's like, God, Encino Man, titties, get in here. There's fucking bird blindness. I can't tell what size this bird is. What? What are you talking about? Bird blindness. It's so dumb, but it's so funny. I got attacked by a fucking duck. And then they're like, we gotta get these people to the hospital. They got, so pretty much all of them need to go get medical treatment because they got taken out by an eagle. We then cut back to Chris and Harcourt leaning over the ledge and talking and having a beer together and, you know, finally getting a moment to talk alone type thing. And Chris asks her, you know, where she got the cut and, you know, what's the bruising on her eye from? And she's like, some guy at a bar was talking to me. And he's like, like the first time we met, like that guy at that bar? And he brings up one other time that she beat up a guy at this bar. So this seems to be some reoccurring behaviors for Harcourt and that she needs to go out and beat some guys up or get beat up to feel something. But then she says, you mean the first bar where we met, where you followed me in? And he's like, yeah, I followed you in because I thought you were cool, and I still think you're cool. And she's like, cool, okay. And he tells her, maybe it takes one to know one. someone that goes out to beat up to cover up their own fucked up emotions and feelings type shit. And she kind of fucking blows up at him now. And like, you realizing that, like, we thought Peacemaker and Vigilante were the most fucked up ones in this group. But Harcourt's really the one that's the most fucked up. And it's like evident how fucked up. And she like really rips apart Chris. Like, oh yeah, you think we're the same? I'm not as fucked up as you, Chris. And he's like, I never said you were. Jesus Christ. Like, where are you putting these words in my mouth? And, you know, so the conversation doesn't end well. And she's like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm not as fucked up as you, Chris. And then says, fuck this, and walks away. And, you know, then they both start to get really drunk and just start really tying it on. And as she walks away and starts to really start drinking heavily, and so does Peacemaker, we see ADEBYO and ECONOMOS pouring beers onto a naked Vigilante, and he's like in his tighty whities, just like Peacemaker loves his tighty whities. And also in Creature Commandos, Rick Flag Sr. had a little moment in tighty whitey briefs. But, you know, joining the trio of tighty whities, I saw this image of the three of them on Twitter, and somebody was like, hold on, I'm forming a team. The tighty whitey gang. The tighty whitey patrol, whatever you want to call them, the Underood heroes. But it was just really funny to see Vigilante, like, in the outfit he showed up in was like this Mr. Rogers, like, I'm a cool guy, don't worry about it. And he's like clearly this like Norman Bates type of guy, you know what I mean? Like, even Harcourt said it. He's like, he's weird, he's a murderer, you know, he's a serial killer. He's almost like a Jeffrey Dahmer type with that outfit on. But then he ends up, you know, partying with his friends and doing the Triple H blow the water up, if you know, you know. But he's getting covered in beer. And shout out Freddie STROMA for having a fucking ripped physique while he's standing there in his tighty whities. And I think he was like, I'm gonna be naked, I gotta get into really good shape. Like, but, you know, a trio of men in their tighty whities, how funny is that? But we come back after the party, they all go home, it looks like, and Chris is barely able to walk when we see him getting home, and he's in his kitchen, and he's barely able to hold himself up. And then he trips over some shit that's on the ground in the house, and the house is all messed up because EAGLY had to protect the house, and, you know, EAGLY did a great job, good little guard dog. And he comes over, and he's sitting on his bed, and EAGLY hops up next to him, and he gives EAGLY a hug, but he's a little too aggressive, so EAGLY jumps back down, and he's like, I'm sorry, God. And then Peacemaker drunkenly grabs the other Peacemaker's phone and tries to drunk text the other Harcourt, but the text doesn't go through while he's in this universe. So then he opens up the QUC door drunkenly and walks over into the other universe to be able to send this text to the other Harcourt. And once he walks in there, we hear Keith and his dad are both panicking, saying, no one's heard from him, we don't know where he is. And, you know, he's talking about this universe's Peacemaker. And then we see that Harcourt texted him back in this universe saying, hey, back. And then sent a heartbroken emoji. And he kind of just sits down in this universe like, huh, I seem to have fucked it up with this woman in both universes. But over here, she seems to at least be responding. And, you know, maybe they will rekindle this flame a little bit, but it will be with this Peacemaker from the other universe and not her Peacemaker, you know what I mean? And we close this episode on the back as he faces away from camera of Peacemaker, and he thinks about what he's going to text this other universe's Harcourt back as we head into credits, hearing We Don't Need a Cure by Hardcore Superstar. And then the post-credit scene, because you guys got to remember, in every single Peacemaker episode, there will be a post-credit scene. And this post-credit scene is just the expanded conversation that we probably could have got, but it got cut down a little bit in the episode. And this is a conversation between ECONOMOS and Fleury once they got into the truck, and when Vigilante arrives and he calls him a Pokemon. And he said, and Fleury says, oh, that's a Pokemon. And ECONOMOS is saying, Pokemon is plural, and he says the line where, well, when you were collecting Pokemon, 2 girls were sucking my dick, but this time we get it expanded, and ECONOMOS says, what did they look like? And he says, one of them was blonde and one of them was bald. And what were their names? Gertrude and Francine, the Peppermint twins, in Portland, Oregon, I'll never forget. And ECONOMOS goes, huh, real hot? Yeah, super hot, as ECONOMOS just goes back to typing on his computer, and you're just like, Alright, weird little post-credit scene, but I dig it. I dig that they give us these post-credit scenes. And then there's no after-episode HBO, like, featurette thing, but there was a teaser for next week. And the teaser for next week seems like Sasha Bordeaux is maybe putting her own team together from Argus to replace Fleury's fuck-ups from getting beaten up by EAGLY this episode. So it seems like Sasha Bordeaux is coming in with this new team, and our Peacemaker is going to then go live out a day as the good Peacemaker in this other universe, and he's going to be riding, you know, the peace cycle and, you know, living as a hero and seeing what that's like. But also, in episode 1, his brother Keith mentioned to him that the X is with the Jarhead now, but he thinks that he could still rekindle that flame with Harcourt. Like, Harcourt wants Peacemaker back, but she's with this Jarhead douchebag. So who is the Jarhead that he's referring to? I'm thinking it almost has to be Rick Flag Jr. Or maybe it's Rick Flag Sr. in this other universe, has Peacemaker's girl type of thing. But I'm thinking that this whole season 2 will be about Rick Flag Jr. from another universe, and maybe Peacemaker kills him again. You know, who knows what happens. But maybe it's like a thing that maybe this is James Gunn's way of kind of retconning the Suicide Squad, and maybe Rick Flag Jr. will be brought back into this DCU, and we'll be able to have Rick Flag Sr. and Jr. I don't know. That's all speculation, but comment below your thoughts. Who is the Jarhead that the other universe Emilia Harcourt could be dating? Do you think that our Peacemaker will be a good hero and just be able to step into the other Peacemaker's shoes no problem? Or it might seem like there's a bigger mystery going on here, and his brother Keith of that good Peacemaker said that he's been disappearing more than usual. And that could just be because this Peacemaker has been going back and forth between the universes in the closet, or the actual good Peacemaker from this universe was up to some secret hidden shit, you know, and, you know, maybe that will be what this season's about, and they discover this fucked up shit that the other Peacemaker was doing, and he was supposed to be a hero in this other universe. Like, I could see that becoming a thing too, but I really have no idea where we're heading with this, but I know through 2 episodes I'm having a blast talking about Peacemaker, and I did a season recap breakdown of season 1, and doing those videos were really fun as well. So now 6 more episodes over the next 6 weeks for the remaining episodes of Peacemaker Season 2. Make sure you guys subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss future Peacemaker videos and you get the notifications when those come out. If you made it this far in the video and you'd like to support the channel, the best way to do that is liking this video, commenting down in the comment section below, subscribing if you haven't already, and hitting that bell like I just said so you get notifications when videos come out. Once again, my name's Big Cam. Thank you guys so much for coming on by, and I will see you beautiful people in the next video. Peace.